The Vigilant drifted at the edge of the veiled expanse, a sector so thoroughly mapped and scarred that most species considered it dead space, a silent void swallowed by drifting cosmic dust and shadowed nebulae. For the consortium of ordered species, it was a place to avoid, a quiet border between the known galaxy and the unknowable dark beyond. But then the signal came. Captain Mira Joss was the first to notice it. Her eyes flicked between the flickering readouts and the silent void displayed on the bridge's holoscreens. The encrypted transmission had no origin, no pattern. Yet, against all logic, it pulsed with unmistakable human speech, fractured, broken, whispered in dialects thought long dead. "Impossible," muttered Commander Selthrex, the ship's lead cryptographer. "The Terran languages, but they disappeared centuries ago. We verified that sector multiple times. There's nothing there." But the signal persisted, bouncing off dust clouds and distorted by interference, as if someone, or something, was deliberately hiding in the silence. "Patch it through the filters," Captain Joss ordered, leaning forward. "Let's hear what it's trying to say." Static gave way to harsh, uneven voices, fragments of English, Russian, Mandarin, even Old Gaelic, overlapping in a chaotic tapestry of sound. Then words emerged clearly. "They cannot see us. Not yet. We endure. Remember the stars." No one spoke. The crew held their breath, the weight of the message sinking in. "Could be a trap," murmured Sel, rubbing his temple. "Psychological warfare. Maybe an unknown enemy trying to lure us in." Before anyone could answer, the ship's sensors flared with alarm. "Captain, multiple massive objects detected," said Lieutenant Karavos, eyes wide. "Energy signatures fluctuating. They're materializing." On the main viewer, dark shapes rippled into view, colossal, angular constructs appearing like shadows against the starfield. They pulsed faint red glows, geometric and alien, but unmistakably artificial. "Are those ships?" Captain Joss whispered. "No technology in our databases matches those readings." The structures blinked out just as quickly as they appeared, swallowed by the void again. "Shields up. Raise alert status," Joss barked, heart pounding. The bridge buzzed with frantic activity. Every sensor strained to catch another glimpse, but the veiled expanse swallowed the shapes whole, leaving only eerie silence and a sense of profound wrongness. Why here? Why now? Joss wondered aloud. Suddenly, the transmission shifted, crackling into sharper focus. A voice, cold and resolute, spoke directly through the ship's speakers in flawless galactic standard. "You are not prepared." The crew froze, the words hanging in the sterile air like a challenge or a warning. Captain Joss's eyes met Sel's. Somewhere deep inside, they both knew this was only the beginning. The calm galaxy they thought they knew was about to shatter. And out in the darkness, something human waited. The Harmony's ascendancy slipped silently through the veiled expanse, cutting a path where no consortium fleet had dared to venture for centuries. Admiral Cologne stood on the bridge, his sharp eyes fixed on the flickering holoscreens as the fleet closed in on the origin of the enigmatic transmission. "Steady, Captain. We're entering unknown territory," Cologne said to his flagship's commander, his voice calm but resolute. The Admiral's fleet was a formidable force, sleek Kios vessels bristling with the latest energy weapons and defense systems, backed by years of tactical mastery. But even here, surrounded by trusted allies, unease threaded the air. "This sector should be empty," murmured Captain Nirthak of the scout frigate Sable Wind, scanning with every sensor he had. "There's nothing on record, no life, no ships, no colonies. Yet the signal was undeniable." "Something doesn't want us here," Cologne replied. "And whatever it is, it's ready." Without warning, the fleet's sensor feeds exploded with blips, fast-moving projectiles no one recognized. "Incoming," yelled Lieutenant Vec, fingers dancing over controls. "Kinetic slugs. Multiple vectors, hyper-accelerated. QO's weapons were designed for energy bursts and particle beams, but these were different, simple, brutal, and terrifyingly effective. The fleet's shields flared as unseen projectiles tore through layers of defense. Evasive maneuvers. Target source of fire. Kilom commanded, eyes scanning the dark void. But the fleet's retaliatory fire met only silence. No emissions, no energy signatures, no ship signatures. It was as if the attackers were shadows themselves, ghosts wielding knives. Then, from the blackness, an automated broadcast flooded the Harmony's Ascendancy's comm channels. A voice spoke, clear and chilling in perfect galactic standard. "You are not prepared." The bridge fell deathly silent. "Identify source." Kilon barked. The reply came instantly, a laugh. Human, unmistakable, cold, and mocking. "Admiral," the tactical officer whispered, "it's a human laugh. We haven't heard one in centuries." Kilon clenched his jaw. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, wiped from the stars during the Great Purge. Their technology and culture lost forever. But now, here they were. Suddenly, the flagship's shields dropped in a blinding flash, alarms screaming through the hull. "Hull breach, port side." The damage control officer yelled. "Unknown weapon impact, hull integrity critical." The Harmony's Ascendancy rocked violently. Fires erupted as emergency bulkheads slammed shut, isolating sections of the ship. "Report," Kilon demanded. "Multiple hits, projectiles, but no known tech signature. Weapons seem primitive, but effective," said the weapons officer grimly. "We're outmatched. Signal fleet to withdraw," Kilon ordered, though his voice was tight with tension. Before the order could be executed, the flagship's comm crackled again. This time, a single message. "We remember." The transmission ended. The fleet, shaken and battered, began to pull back under covering fire. Kilon stared out into the darkness, the words echoing in his mind. "We remember." Not just a warning, a promise. In the vast black, something ancient and deadly had awoken, and humanity was no longer a ghost story whispered in history. It was a reckoning. Deep within the Council archives on the world of Cylon, Dr. Veneri Toll sat alone in a dimly lit chamber, surrounded by stacks of ancient holorecords and data crystals. Her job was to study the obscure and forgotten, the myths dismissed by most as irrelevant. But now, the past had clawed its way back, demanding attention. The Terran Exodus, long relegated to legend and conspiracy, was suddenly real again. Humanity hadn't vanished by choice or accident. They had deliberately cut themselves off, turning inward, hiding from the galaxy. Veneri Toll replayed the old council sessions, voices long dead echoing through the chamber. An isolation pact. Self-imposed exile. A species too dangerous to be allowed near galactic affairs. She paused on a fragmented transmission. A Terran voice, passionate and defiant, spoken in English but carrying the weight of centuries. "They will regret the day they tried to erase us." Veneri Toll swallowed hard. The humans hadn't just disappeared. They had been hunted, betrayed by the very council sworn to maintain peace. Her comm unit buzzed, snapping her back to the present. "Dr. Veneri Toll, you need to see this," said a voice on the line. Commander Selthrex, her former colleague from the Vigilant. "Satellite data from the Veiled Expanse. Multiple colonies are gone. Erased." Veneri's heart sank. "They're not just here. They're moving." Screens flickered to life, displaying images of entire QoS worlds swallowed by shadow. The usual data streams, population counts, communications, simply ceased. "Any signs of battles?" she asked. "Nothing conventional. No weapon signatures, no distress calls. Just silence." The implications were staggering. The humans were no longer just a hidden ghost. They were stalking the stars like predators, using tactics so stealthy the galaxy barely noticed until entire worlds vanished. Veneri Toll's thoughts raced. How had the humans hidden so long? How had they evolved in isolation, mastering weapons that even the consortium hadn't imagined? And worst of all, what did they want now? The council chamber erupted in urgent debate. Some called for immediate military retaliation. Others argued for parley, to understand what humanity sought after centuries of silence. Veneri Toll, however, felt a deeper fear. This wasn't about war or peace. It was about judgment. The humans remembered every betrayal, every injustice, every lie told during their exile. And they were coming back, not as victims, but as reckoners. "Prepare for contact," the council president declared grimly. "But be warned," Veneri Toll whispered to herself, "they don't come as friends." Later, as she left the archives, a Kiowa scout ship returned to orbit. Its crew was broken, eyes wild, mumbling incomprehensible phrases. "They know our fears," the captain whispered, collapsing. Veneri Toll looked toward the endless stars beyond the viewport. The silence of space had been shattered, and the ghosts of Terran past were rising. The council chambers on Cylon buzzed with tension. Holoscreens floated in midair, showing the latest intelligence reports, black ships moving with impossible speed, colonies going dark without warning, entire fleets retreating in confusion. The galaxy was on edge. Admiral Cologne paced slowly, rubbing his chin as the council debated their next move. Some factions demanded total war, an all-out assault to eliminate the Terran presence once and for all. Others argued caution, fearing that provoking humanity might unleash devastation no one could contain. "We cannot ignore the truth," Cologne said, his voice calm but steely. "Our sensors detect no conventional engines. Their ships bend space in ways we do not understand. Our weapons barely scratch them. And worst of all, they do not respond to diplomacy." A senior counselor, an elegant Velari named Maris, interjected. "They are not here to negotiate. Their silence is an advantage, a tool to keep us guessing." Across the chamber, Veneri Toll's eyes were fixed on the reports. She had pored over data from every lost colony, every vanished ship. The pattern was clear. Humanity was reclaiming their former territories, but with a strange restraint. Civilian populations were rescued or evacuated, not enslaved or massacred. "They fight with precision," Veneri said quietly, "but not out of cruelty. There's a purpose beyond conquest. They're rewriting the map of power." Suddenly, a new alert pulsed across the chamber's main screen. A COS fleet patrolling near the outer colonies reported a close encounter with a shadow fleet, ships cloaked in darkness, moving with silence and speed beyond technology known to the consortium. Witnesses described black, angular vessels that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, armed with weapons both terrifying and unfamiliar. The term "black phantoms" began to circulate. That evening, a COS diplomat managed to breach the radio silence. Against all odds, a single encrypted transmission was received from an unknown Terran source. It was brief. One sentence: "We remember your lies." The message was broadcast repeatedly across every KOS communication channel in perfect galactic standard. Panic swept the galaxy like wildfire. Admiral Cologne stared at the message long after the broadcast ended. The words echoed in his mind, dripping with accusation and promise. The council ordered an immediate investigation, but many feared the truth was already known. Humanity did not forget, nor did they forgive. Back aboard the Harmony's Ascendancy, Cologne stood at the observation window, gazing into the starlit abyss. The stars that once represented peace and endless possibilities now seemed cold and watchful. Out there, in the dark, humanity waited, patient, calculating, unyielding. And the galaxy was trembling at the edge of war. The fleet assembled in the shadow of the dying star, its pale light flickering weakly across the grim faces aboard COS vessels. The Council's finest warriors were ready, their confidence bolstered by centuries of dominance. But beneath the polished armor and sleek weapons lurked a growing unease. Admiral Cologne stared at the incoming transmissions. Images of human warships flooded his holoscreens, brutalist and stark, black hulls cut with sharp angles, armed with weapons unlike anything QS science had ever encountered. There were no glowing energy cannons, no elegant plasma arrays. Instead, massive mechanical lances pulsed with gravity waves, piercing shields with bone-crushing force. Bombs that fractured reality itself detonated in the void, ripping holes through space-time, and a strange, haunting signal echoed across the battlefield. An AI war symphony, disorienting QoS sensors and turning ships against one another. The Harmony's ascendancy bristled with defenses, but even its shields flared and cracked under the onslaught. Status report, Cologne demanded as warning sirens screamed. 2 cruisers destroyed. Several others disabled by gravitational lances. Our countermeasures are ineffective, the tactical officer said grimly. The QoS fleet fought valiantly, but they were no match for humanity's raw ingenuity and relentless ferocity. Still, the humans did not gloat. Their tactics were cold, precise, almost clinical. After disabling a ship, they'd broadcast a chilling message on open frequencies. "We remember what you did." Cologne's blood ran cold. The memory haunted the Council archives. Centuries ago, COS factions had attempted a genocide against humanity, fearing their unpredictable spirit and tenacity. They'd labeled humans a threat, an aberration to be eradicated, but they hadn't succeeded. Humanity had vanished into the void, waiting, building, evolving. Now, they were back, armed with weapons 2 full epochs ahead, yet forged with human grit and brutality. Suddenly, an unexpected transmission flickered through the chaos. It was Admiral Rethkor, a once-renowned QoS war hero who had led hunts for rogue Terran survivors long ago. "I served during the Purge," his voice trembled. "I thought we ended it all. But I was wrong. They survived. And now, they are the reckoning." His confession shook the fleet. Cologne's mind raced. If humanity's weapons were this devastating, what else were they hiding? The answer came swiftly. A sudden, near-invisible wave of interference swept through QoS communications. Fleets lost contact with their command ships, sensors warped, and enemy formations fractured. The humans didn't just fight. They dismantled entire fleets by turning their own technology against them. Cologne's last thought before the Harmony's ascendancy took a crippling blow was bitter but clear. We awoke a force we cannot control. The once mighty fleets of the consortium of ordered species were retreating. Across star systems, reports poured in. Worlds once under QoS dominion fell silent, their inhabitants freed or vanished. The humans were not invaders in the traditional sense. They were liberators, or perhaps judges. On the battered bridge of the Harmony's ascendancy, Admiral Cologne watched as encrypted transmissions from the liberated colonies streamed in, revealing horrors long hidden beneath the veneer of COS order. Forced labor camps, secret weapons testing, and populations left to starve under corrupt governance. "They've uncovered everything," muttered Captain Nerthak beside him, voice heavy with disbelief. Veneri Toll, now aboard the flagship as a consultant, pored over data streams showing colonists embracing their rescuers with both hope and fear. "They're exposing lies centuries old," she said. "This is more than war. It's a reckoning." But not everyone welcomed humanity's return. The QoS High Command was fracturing under the pressure. Hardliners pushed for ruthless retaliation. No mercy, no negotiation. Others advocated for parley, hoping to avoid total collapse. Amid this chaos, a daring and secret operation was launched. A strike fleet, cloaked and swift, set course for Earth itself, the legendary origin point of the Terrans. Its mission was desperate, to cripple the human heart before it could grow stronger. Weeks passed in silence. Then the fleet vanished. No distress signals, no debris, no prisoners. Only one cryptic message remained. "They took our past. Now we take the future." Cologne's jaw tightened. Humanity was no longer hiding in shadows. It was shaping destiny. Back on Earth's surface, a world cloaked in verdant forests and towering spires of forgotten technology. Human leaders convened. Their faces were marked with determination and sorrow, knowing the galaxy now watched them as both saviors and harbingers. "We cannot undo the past," their leader said quietly, "but we will ensure it never repeats." They broadcast a final, clear message to the galaxy. "We offer peace, but we will defend what is ours." The Chios fleet's disappearance was a stark reminder. Humanity's power was not just in weapons or technology, but in resolve forged through centuries of betrayal and survival. The reckoning had begun. The dying star cast its pale, flickering light over the battlefield, where the last great fleet of the consortium of ordered species gathered in grim determination. This was their final gamble, a desperate strike to crush the Terran stronghold and end the threat once and for all. Admiral Cologne stood on the bridge of the Harmony's ascendancy, watching thousands of warships arrayed against the black, angular silhouette of the Terran flagship, Endurance. The humans did not flinch. Their ships floated like monoliths, calm and unreadable, as if daring the Chios armada to come closer. "Hold formation," Cologne ordered. "Target their command ship. We end this now." The silence shattered with a blast. A wave of gravity bombs erupted from the Endurance, ripping through space with terrible force. Chios shields buckled and cracked as entire squadrons were shredded in moments. "Weapons to full power," yelled the weapons officer. "Return fire." Chios energy beams and missile volleys streaked across the void, but the humans anticipated every move. The Endurance released an AI swarm, a legion of tiny drones that infiltrated Chios ships, turning their own systems against them in a blur of fire and chaos. The battle descended into brutal chaos. The starlit void was torn apart by explosions, fires, and the relentless roar of combat. Chios ships fell by the dozen, their crews fighting to the last breath. Yet through it all, the humans fought with an unshakable resolve, not out of hatred, but with cold purpose. Their technology was devastating, but their strategy was more than tactical. It was a message. Suddenly, in the midst of destruction, the humans ceased fire. Across the battle comm channels, a single message rang clear. "Enough." The Endurance sent a broadcast to every surviving Chios vessel. "We offer peace," the voice declared, "reconciliation, shared knowledge, an end to cycles of war." Cologne stared in disbelief. Was this surrender or a trap? The council leadership was fractured. Some wanted to accept the offer, weary of endless bloodshed. Others whispered of total annihilation, destroying humanity before they could rise again. Before a decision could be made, the Endurance vanished. No explosion, no retreat, just a ghost ship slipping into the darkness, leaving the stunned fleet in its wake. The silence that followed was heavier than any cannonade. Cologne's voice was barely a whisper. "They are gone, for now." But in the depths of space, the faint hum of hidden engines whispered a promise. Humanity's reckoning was not finished. The stars seemed calmer now. The great battle had ended not with annihilation, but with a fragile, uneasy silence. The Harmony's ascendancy and the remaining Chios fleet drifted through the void, their wounds fresh and spirits heavy. Admiral Cologne stood alone on the bridge, staring out into the dark expanse. The humans had vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared, leaving behind a message that echoed through the hearts of every living being in the galaxy. "We offer peace. We demand respect." The council was fractured and humbled. The old ways of distrust and conquest had been shattered. Slowly, diplomatic channels opened. Communications, once filled with threats and warnings, now carried cautious dialogue and tentative offers of alliance. Dr. Venari Toll, who had witnessed the terror and hope of humanity's return, addressed the council. "They are not monsters to be feared blindly," she said. "They are a mirror, reflecting our failures and our possibilities. If we choose to see them as enemies, we doom ourselves to repeat history." In the months that followed, the consortium began dismantling the hidden horrors long concealed behind bureaucratic facades. Colonies freed from oppression began rebuilding. Old wounds, once buried beneath silence and denial, started to heal. Yet, even as peace began to take root, an undercurrent of tension remained. The memory of destruction lingered, and the question hung unanswered. Had humanity truly come for peace? In the farthest reaches of the veiled expanse, deep within an ancient Terran fortress, human leaders gathered once more. Their faces were calm but determined. "We have tested the galaxy's resolve," their leader said quietly. "Now we build, not with domination, but with vigilance and hope. Our past is a warning, our future a promise." The galaxy watched, aware that this was only the beginning of a new chapter. Humanity's arrival had shaken the cosmos to its core. It had exposed weakness, revealed corruption, and rekindled ancient fears. But it had also sparked a possibility, a future where old enemies might become allies, where survival meant more than just war. Admiral Cologne finally turned away from the viewport, his heart heavy but hopeful. The darkness of space remained, vast and unknown. But now, humanity was part of its story. And the cosmos, trembling but alive, waited to see what they would write next.